Today we are going to be revisiting the GTX 970 to see if it's still a viable card for PC gamers in the year 2017. Why are we revisiting the GTX 970, you may be asking? Well, it's because up until this past month, it had been the most popular GPU on the whole entirety of Steam according to Steam's own hardware surveys. It was only just in the month of May that the 970 had finally lost its reign atop the charts by NVIDIA's own 750 Ti graphics card, a significantly cheaper and less powerful GPU that can be powered by nothing more than the PCIe slot that it plugs into, making it ideal for a snappy system upgrade for anyone with a slightly older or pre-built system, as it is basically plug and play. But let's get back on track with the GTX 970 that I'll be isolating today for testing at 1080p and 1440p in a good selection of games, several of which just came out this year. So if you're out there and are still rocking the GTX 970, which released nearly 2.5 years ago in January of 2015, some of the benchmarks might assist in letting you know if your card can run these modern games at any sort of respectable settings. The card I have for my testing is the EVGA GTX 970 SSC, which I opted to test at its stock settings. However, since this is a super clocked card from EVGA, that means it has a healthy overclock. In fact, I believe it's the highest clocked 970 that was released at 1190 megahertz and a boost clock of 1342 megahertz. In all my testing, though, the GPU boost was kicking in, so the core clocks ended up sitting at 1430 megahertz, while the memory was at its stock 7 gigahertz through all of the benchmarks run today. And for my test system, I utilized my FrameRaider build that has the i7 7700K, which is overclocked at 5 gigahertz, along with 16 gigabytes of G.Skill RAM at 2933 megahertz. If you would like to get caught up on the full build video for this system, I'll be sure to link to it down in the description below. With all that out of the way, though, let's get into our game testing, which was done at 1080p and 1440p on high settings with the latest driver from NVIDIA 382.53. Looking at the averages now for the games we tested, you'll see the GTX 970, despite its age, is still an amazing card for 1080p. There was not a single game tested that had an average below 60 FPS, and some of the games even went over 100 frames per second. The newly released Dirt 4 managed to get 160 frames at 1080p and 127 at 1440p, so no issues at all with that game. I saw the same thing in Prey, which was another 2017 game, pulling in 123 frames per second average at 1080p. At 1440p, you're going to struggle a little bit in some more demanding titles like The Division and Ghost Recon Wildlands, which ended up seeing averages around 50 and also had disappointing 1% lows, as we will see in a moment. Most of the other games I tested here, though, I found to be very playable. It's really just going to kind of come down to what types of games you play. If you're more esports focused with games like Rainbow Six Siege, Overwatch, or if you're playing MOBAs, I would guess as well, then you're probably not going to have any issues with 1440p. However, just beware of the more taxing games, as they do require some sort of scaling or lowered settings if you do want to play them comfortably. If the lower frame rates coming down below 50 is going to be something that is going to bother you. I know certainly it would bother me. Moving into the 1% lows now, which take an average of the lowest 1% of frame times to provide this data, we can see at 1080p only 2 games went below 60 for the 1% low, those being The Division and Ghost Recon Wildlands, which are definitely 2 of the more intensive games to run graphically, so I wouldn't be too concerned about this unless you're dead set on playing these particular games, as none of the other games had issues at 1080p. At 1440p, there were, however, a lot of games that had 1% lows below 60, some even significantly below 60. Some of them being Battlefield 1, Wildlands, Prey, Rainbow Six Siege, Sniper Elite 4, and The Division. But as previously mentioned in the averages, when it came to 1440p, I found the 970 to still be a solid performer at high settings in the majority of the games that I tested, although not all of them. So hopefully this was good news for anyone out there still running the GTX 970. If I were personally running one of them for 1080p gaming, then I don't think I would be too concerned about the performance, as the card is still going strong here in 2017 in newer games. If you're looking to get into 1440p gaming, however, and wanted to see how your card would handle maybe a monitor upgrade, then it might be time to start thinking of an upgrade if the lower frame rates bother you. If that is the case though, I would likely advise you to be patient and see if you can wait out the summer, as we are expecting to see AMD's Vega cards releasing, and we've even had rumors that Nvidia may be pushing out Volta sometime in 2017. That's of course just a rumor on Volta and nothing is concrete yet, but with both major GPU manufacturers having cards that are already in the works and being discussed publicly, I don't think it would be wise to upgrade your graphics card right now. Otherwise, you may end up really wishing you had waited just a little bit longer. But I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. I hope everyone out there enjoyed this edition of GPU Throwback with the GTX 970. If you did, don't forget to leave a like down below. And if you have any other cards you would like to see revisited in this manner, then please leave it down in the comments below, as I'll be reading through all of them and interacting with you. As always though, if you're not subscribed already, you can do so now for future GPU testing videos like this one, and I will catch you guys next time. Tura.